I have insurance with Ambetter here in Maricopa County in Arizona, and I found a problem with them putting their providers online, me going to those providers, verifying with the providers, and now them rejecting the claims that I've paid. And so I'm not getting credit towards my out-of-pocket deductible here at the end of the year, and so I'm paying way more than I should be paying. So we had Ambetter last year, which is basically healthcare.gov, and no problem. We've had health insurance for the 38 years that we've been married. Had Ambetter this year. My husband uses it more. Went to the hospital for a cath for the year. We did not get them in the hospital, Ambetter in the hospital. I think it was Ambetter. They're just trying to throw out just to keep their numbers because they were the only healthcare provider here in our county on the government healthcare last year. So I think they're trying to help. This is my gut because I can't figure out why they would treat their consumers like this. Anyway, he's had a bill sitting there that we paid $3,800 towards our deductible that just sits in the hospital's bank account and doesn't get applied towards our deductible. And finally, right before now, I found out I had cancer and I was needing to have an operation at the same hospital. I wasn't really wanting to have $7,000 sitting over there. And so I really tried to work with Ambetter, and it's just like between the hospital and it's coding. It's something that can take a phone call to get cleared up, but there's no motivation because it saves them money. So finally, because when I've been doing my stuff that I've been upset about, I've kind of included his. I've gone clear to the State Insurance Commission. I've gone to every avenue of their grievance, to their corporate grievance. But the thing that ticked me off the worst, I had my yearly mammo, and I had it at Simon Med, and I looked it up on my insurance, so I'm probably more proactive than most people. And I looked it up on my insurance. It was covered. I walk into the facility, ask them if they take my insurance. They most certainly do. So your yearly mammo is free. So then I've got to get a follow-up mammo. I'm going to Simon Med again. This one I'm kind of trying to schedule early because I was out of town. I was flying in town, trying to get my secondary. I had a little gut instinct. Went to Simon Med. They're covered by my insurance. I walk in there. In fact, there was something that they wanted me to pay that something I had a concern about. I sat for 45 minutes waiting for them to call my insurance to verify what I owed towards my deductible, because I obviously hadn't hit my deductible. I hadn't been to the doctor more than just my yearly visit, which is free. So they called. The only way they know what to give me is by calling and talking to my insurance. 45 minutes I waited for that procedure, and I actually went back to the same facility the next day because they had an opening. I needed to go the next step for a biopsy, and they're refusing to pay those facilities now because they say they're not covered. When I call their customer care rep and I say, well, how can it be? In fact, when you're waiting online to go to their customer care rep, it repeats. If you're just calling about a provider, look up online. We have all the information there. So I get a customer care rep online, and they basically tell me not to believe anything that's online, but to believe what she's going to tell me. Two facilities they're going to tell me. And I said, so how can I guarantee that? Because I verified it with the provider, which is, they have I can't think of the key word, but it's kind of their little clause in there that says how to make sure you're covered with the insurance with the providers. I went to every degree with that, probably a little more. And so then I called back and talked. This was probably the one that showed me it's the most ridiculous thing. And I hope Ambetter sees this, hears this. And the reason I'm doing this interview is because I want every consumer that's being screwed. In fact, one lady that wrote after mine, I thought I was reading my own. She sounds exactly like mine. And I want them to know the steps I've taken, and let's all keep fighting because they can't do this to us. We've got insurance. My husband and I pay $1,800 a month for this insurance. I pay every month. Anyway, so the second time I called, you know what the guy told me? To believe not what any customer service rep called me, not what was online, but to believe him that he went to this facility he went to yesterday I would be covered because he went and he knows. That's the confidence the own customer service people have in themselves. And the most interesting thing is they paid one bill. So it was a 2-day where I had an extra scan and a biopsy at the same facility. They paid one of the people within there, because I don't, when they break it out, it doesn't just all, I pay Simon Med, but it gets broken out into pathology, into some different things like that. They paid one of the people. So it's like you're kind of doomed because you paid one of the people. Then kind of the next step I took was, now I've got to have another, trying to think of what this was called, I can't think right off the top of my head, another scan, which would require me going to another imaging facility. It was my MRI. There you go. My MRI. So I had that one sent to pre-approval, even though it wasn't a pre-approval thing. So Ambetter has their own pre-approval section. Well, I was kind of up against a time frame. I had it scheduled at that imaging facility, but I wanted it pre-approved from their big thing, because that was going to kind of be the scoop is you do cover this place. Pre-approval covers it, when this one wasn't even pre-approved. So I got a secretary Ambetter person on the phone, and she seemed to think, not even, it was just like, oh, sorry you heard that. That shouldn't have been the case. It's just like, do you understand why do you even have the lower level customer service? They're ridiculous. I mean, like sad ridiculous. I feel sorry. And so the two of them are talking. So it's an Ambetter second tier, which is like a supervisor, and their pre-approval, which is called NRP or NRI, is their other corporation that a group they've hired. Those two are talking, and it's like between them, and I'm on the third person. We take Simon Med, don't we? Yeah, we've always taken Simon Med. What's their tax ID number? Tax ID means something in that medical world, and I wrote it down, so I've got the tax ID number. I got the referral number, and I got approved and went to Simon Med for my MRI. And they're still not paying my bill. So it doesn't go towards my deductible. And they're just saying, we have had an argument. Then I had my regular doctor, who all of a sudden, because you're supposed to put your regular general doctor on your insurance, every time I call, how come you don't have a regular doctor? Because you guys took them off because they took out one at her address where she sees patients and only put the billing address in, and they were supposed to cross-reference. Well, Ambetter saw something and kicked it out. So I don't have a regular doctor right now. So anyway, that's it. And what I've done is online on Ambetter, they have right within your home page, they have a drop down that says grievances. I've written a grievance. Sometimes, once in a while, I'll get a response. Oh, I had somebody on there give me two different imaging places I could go. Well, a week later after. And I said, this is ridiculous. There is not one common thing about the imaging places that you tell me to go to. And I trust nobody. Because if I can't get it on the website, I have the second tier telling me the ones I'm going to are fine. And all the people down lower are giving all this mixed signal. And one guy tells me, don't believe anybody. And I just said, this is ridiculous. I don't even believe you. So I'm waiting for those bills to be paid. They finally paid my husband's bill. So that was good news. A year later, he was operated on January 31st. They finally hit it. So he finally hit his deductible. No questioning where we hit it. I think they owe him at least $500. Now I can trade that. I have my deductible. Now is hold it so I can't see what they're looking at my cost sharing. And I've never had insurance where you couldn't look any time to see what you had met for deductible. Right now it says I owe all of it. If I pulled it up this morning, I haven't pulled it right now. And for some reason it was on there last week. I'm pretty well checking it because I've got these bills coming in, and I want to know when I'm going to these doctor's appointments if I owe or not. And I want to be fair to my providers. You know what I mean? So anyway, and then I went to HealthNet, who's their corporate company, and they also have a grievance department. And I've been to the state of Arizona. So anybody that should listen to this or have the same problems, don't give up. They're always asked to go to a second tier immediately. Just say, I'm having problems. Please let me go to a second tier. And tomorrow I'll probably call because those bills aren't paid. And my other thing, what I met towards my deductible is somewhere gone now again. I'll call and see where those bills are at and see why my deductible cost sharing page is gone. And I tell everybody, 38 years I've done health insurance as this side, as the consumer side for my entire family, and I've never seen anything. And obviously the response that you got after I wrote that on there, you see that there's other consumers having problems. My goal is to voice it to see if there's anybody else, and if we can't as a group get satisfactory answers for ourselves and not let them get away with this. These are people, if you're going to the doctor, usually you need it, and I'm assuming we've all paid good money for Ambetter. And I don't want them to get away with it and have these practices. And I feel like they've got all these different entities that are not even speaking the same language. And we as a group need to let the state of Arizona know how we feel about Ambetter. And we all as a group need to be treated right.